Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Times exclusive on Times Television TTV. The program is also live on your radio station Times. My name is Wonder Msisia. The program is brought to you courtesy of Rainbow Pens.
Wow, I think K-Peach looks amazing on that door.
The electric blue cuts it for me.
Come on, look at the tango, candy pink, bent orange, ochre sweet lime.
Do you like what you see? You can dream it and live it. Download your Rainbow app today and begin the magic of transforming your home into a fabulous space. Rainbow Paints. Peace of mind. Part of the deal.
Welcome back. I now have the pleasure of introducing to you our guest in today's edition of the program. Does he need any introduction? I don't think so, but I will do it anyway. My guest in today's edition of the program is the Daliso Chaponda. Welcome to the program, Daliso.
Good to be here.
I needed to pronounce that name correctly. Yes. Daliso.
Well, I'll tell you the interesting thing is
yes,
I actually take all pronunciations because
yes,
a lot of people get confused because the thing is I was born in Zambia, but I am Malawian. In Malawi, it's spelled TSO.
Daliso.
In Zambia, it's spelled ISO.
Okay.
And because I was in Zambia when I was born, my parents chose to use the local Zambian pronunciation.
Yes.
And so people are like, did you change your name? No, it's just we were in Zambia at the time as exiles and they spelled it that way. But I will answer to anything.
All right.
It's all me.
All right. So by the way, we are at Amareri's Hotel. This is the fourth floor of the Amareri's Hotel. And as you can see in the background, there is water there, there is a pool, but you also get to see the view of Blantyre City. I hope our cameras can show us the view of Blantyre City, and I have Daliso Chaponda. So, Daliso, you telling me just now that you were born in Zambia, and that has also been a bone of contention with our neighbors because you've made it now, and the Zambians are saying, but he's Zambian, and the Malawians are saying, no, but he's Malawian. So, we kind of fighting over you.
Exactly, but I mean, look, I'm Malawian. I'm 100% Malawian. Your nation is your blood, it's your parentage. No matter where you have to run away, no matter where you are brought up, wherever you are, whether you were a refugee, whether you're a migrant, you are still, home is still where your parents are from, where your culture is from. And so I'm Malawian, but I understand, I like the fact that lots of African countries claim ownership of me. Because when I'm performing jokes, I'm not performing jokes just for Malawians, I'm performing for all Africans.
All right. Yeah. So just to put the record straight, our neighbors, the Zambians cousins. Daliso is Malawian. He's just told us that he chooses Malawi over any other African country. So, my brother, feel the blood.
Yes.
Now, I want to know a little bit more about you. Who is Daliso Chaponda before we get to talk about what you do?
Well, I am a person who, the thing I think I was put on earth to do is to create.
Okay.
Right? And so at first I thought I'd be a novelist, and then I thought I might be a journalist. I thought of all different ways of creating, and then I found the one which I'm most talented at, which is comedy.
Right.
But it's my favorite thing to do is to make, be it poetry, painting, anything, but the one which my talent was for is comedy.
So are you an artist? Are you a comedian? How would you want to be?
I am an artist. I'm an artist. I'm a person who makes things. I write plays, I do comedy. I'm most famous for comedy, but I also make in any form.
Talking about comedies and the jokes that you make, you constantly talk about a nagging girlfriend. And people are asking to say, is Daliso engaged? What is his marital status?
No. I am currently single. Well, I've got a girlfriend. She's not the nagging girlfriend in the videos. That was several years ago. This one is much, much lovelier. So I've got a girlfriend, not married,
But the plans are...
No plans. She
Okay.
might be watching. Don't give her ideas. Literally, we're just happy.
All
we're
right.
just happy.
All right, so I also want to understand what inspires these jokes that you make.
The whole world, like literally, anything that makes me feel. So if something makes me angry, I write about that. If something makes me happy, I write about that. Big emotions. If something makes me offended, I write about that. So that's why I often will talk about politics. I'll talk about relationships. I'll talk about family, because those are the things which give you big emotions.
Talking about politics, talking about family, you have a father who is active in politics. How has that played in your business?
Well, at first, it was a big problem because I would make fun of him. I'd make fun of his party because as a comedian, you've got to make fun of the people in power. That's where the biggest laughs are. And it was always an issue. He would get frustrated. He'd say, do you have to do this joke? The crowd loved it.
Yes.
Right?
I loved it.
And now that he's in opposition, he's like, tell your jokes. Tell your jokes.
I don't mind anymore.
Yes, I don't mind anymore.
But at some point, was it a problem?
No, it was a problem in terms of, I think it took a while for Malawians to understand satire is not an attack.
You think now they do?
I think they do. I think by the second or third of my shows, people started to understand, oh, this guy, he makes fun of everyone, right? Because he'll make fun of his dad, then he'll make fun of the people in power. And again, it's not like you're trying to create a revolution.
Yeah.
You're calling attention to the absurdities.
Yes.
And we laugh to make us feel better because we can't change it.
All right. You're now living in the UK.
Yes.
How is it life like in the UK?
It's great. I mean, it's really busy. I mean, when I'm here, I think the lifestyle is...
Do you often come to Malawi?
I haven't been during the pandemic.
Okay.
But now I'm coming 2 or 3 times a year now that we can travel again.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I love my lifestyle here much more. You know, I mean, it's more beautiful. The pace of life is better. But in terms of just practical... Here, I can't do as many shows as I can do in the UK. In the
Yes.
UK, I do 8 shows a week.
All right. Where exactly do you do your show? Do you
All
do
across the UK, and then I'll fly to Europe, I'll fly to America, I'll fly to Asia, and I can do so many shows being based out of the UK because every city has comedy clubs, has theaters. Malawi isn't yet there.
Yeah.
It's growing. It's building.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing a show here at Amaryllis. I'm doing
Yeah.
a show at BICC.
Yeah.
But that's 2 venues,
Yeah.
and I'm done.
Yeah,
Right? And
we'll get to
so-
talk about those shows
Yes,
in a
but
moment. But what I wanted to find out was, there was a time you were hosting a BBC show.
Yes.
Do you still do that show?
Yes, I still do this show. So I think you're either speaking about, I've got a show, my own show,
Yes.
called Citizen of Nowhere,
Uh-huh.
right? And that I do, it's now going into the 4th series.
Yeah.
And then I also host an international New Year show every year with comedians from around the world.
Does that pay your bills? Can you comfortably say that, I'm comfortable doing what I'm
I'm more
doing?
than comfortable. I have too much.
You have too much.
I literally, it's not just, I tour all the time. I do television shows, I do radio shows, and between all of that, I know that I'm living in privilege, and I'm living like, 10% of the people in the world. I'm very lucky. And so...
We knew about you before, but the climax of people now wanting to follow Daliso was the time whereby you were featuring on the Britain's Got Talent.
Yes.
That moment where you're getting the golden buzzer, and all of a sudden everybody says, hey, our dude now is on that TV show. I want you to take me through the experience of Britain's Got Talent.
So I went on not expecting much. I
Okay.
thought I was funny enough to get through, but I didn't
Yes.
think I'd end up being in the top 3.
Yes.
I thought I'd just do well enough to help my career and I can start doing slightly bigger shows. But instead, it changed my life. It was absolutely crazy. Like the day it aired, I had to turn off my phone because so
Yes.
many people were ringing.
Yes.
I was getting so many offers, and everything that has happened since has been set off by that.
Of all the judges, people have always picked Simon Cowell as the main judge, and every time you see the performance on Britain's Got Talent, American's Got Talent, everybody's looking at Simon Cowell to see what comment he's going to make. And he gave you a standing ovation.
Yes, he loved my show. And the actual thing is, he's just very honest. He's at that point of success where you don't have to pretend. So if he hates you, he hates you. And if he
Yes.
likes you, he likes you. So
Yes.
he's been very supportive to me, even since I did the show. And Judge Amanda Holden, who
Yes.
gave me the Golden Buzzer, has
Yes.
been very supportive. So you're part of the family now. So I still will go do shows for them
Yeah.
and charity fundraisers for them. It's been good.
Was that the turning point of your career as a comedian?
It was sort of just the next step.
All right.
It's that it gave me a big boost, but I'd done big shows. I'd done shows in South Africa, like Stand Up Africa. I'd done a few shows in Malawi. But then Britain's Got Talent meant that I went from doing 300 seaters to doing 3,000 seaters. It made everything bigger. I went from doing a show, just for people who come to the show to doing stuff which is watched all around the world.
Now, with comedy, you always get those people that feel like, this joke probably is gone overboard, and then there are those that are enjoying the jokes, they don't care, they're just having a laugh. There are some Malawians that have said, but Daliso, you have this opportunity that you would showcase Malawi on that international market. But sometimes you make bad jokes about Malawi. How would you want people to know Malawi
Well, I
through
would
your
say
jokes?
this, my job is comedian. I am not a tourist board member. I am not a flagship. I am not an advertisement. I aim simply to make people laugh, to make people sometimes lay down their burdens if they've had a hard day and relax. That's my job. Now, in terms of people who think you should not talk about the negative, they don't understand. You're celebrating the country even when you talk about the negatives. So at
How?
the same time, I will do jokes about some absurd things like corruption,
Yep.
right? But I'll also talk about, like in my radio show, I talk about the Chilembwe uprising, right?
No.
I talk about the history. I talk about the exports. I talk about everything good and bad. I'm looking for the laughter, and you will find that I've got so many fans who now are like, I want to go to Malawi because I tell the whole story, not just the advertisement, pretend everything's good, because life is hard. We can't pretend
Where
life
do you
is
get
not
your
hard.
content? Where do you get content? Particularly when you get talk about Malawi, you don't live in Malawi quite often.
Yes.
Where do you get your content
I
about
speak
Malawi?
to my family every week. I know what's going on. I read the newspapers. I read history. Like when I talk about, like for example, in my last series of my radio show, I talked about when in the World War I, Malawian soldiers were made to go fight in Germany, right? That's a piece of history that I can talk about, and people who are listening in England will be like, I didn't even know that they were Malawian soldiers.
Yes.
So it's from history, it's from the news, and it's just from my own experience, my own memories.
You made a joke about journalists.
Ah, yes.
And the guys have been saying, when they heard that I'm going to have an interview with you, it's like, Wonder man, this is an opportunity. Go get the qualification.
Now, I am
you
not
said,
saying that it was you. Okay?
I know, it wasn't
Now,
me.
I'm not saying that it was you.
But I want to remind you. I want to remind
also
you.
got to say
Yes.
that you have got to know, you are not blind, right? You know that in the country there are some journalists who have to be paid to come and cover events. You must know that there are journalists who are paid money, and that influences what they write. I was not making this up out of nowhere. Literally, I have written my own review before in a newspaper.
All right. So probably you're talking about one or two. But the impression that people got was that Malawian journalists can't even write anything. They get to give you you say, okay, write it for me. You write for them. They just put the byline, and you get even to give them money. And people are like, no, that's not me. That's not us.
That was based on true experiences. And also, I'm not saying it's everybody. I'm saying this is what happened to me in Malawi, right? And the interesting thing is, one, you're joking. People don't take it seriously. They see that you're exaggerating truth, right? But you must know the truth which I'm exaggerating is the fact that there are a lot of journalists here where you pay them to show up.
All right. So, do you follow Malawian comedy? Like,
I mean, I don't follow a lot of it. First of all, I have very bad chichewa.
Yeah.
Also, I literally am running around all over, and I don't watch a lot of comedy because I might be influenced. I watch drama, I watch depressing things, I watch things other than my life.
All right.
But at the same time, I'm aware of a few people like Mr. Broken English because, he reached out to me, he sent me some videos. So the ones who sent me videos I've watched, but I'm not really on the ground knowing, but I'm glad that it's growing.
all right. So my asking of the question is, you have a platform now
Yes.
where you could pull a brother or two or sister and say, look, I have a platform. I can
Why?
showcase Malawian international
Yes, my
content.
question is why?
You don't think it's necessary?
You are doing an interview with me. Why haven't you brought another journalist to do it?
Because I'm doing it with you.
Exactly. So when I'm doing my show, I'm doing my shows. Right?
So you don't think you could also use your platform
No.
to
I'll
promote
tell
the
you,
talent
this is
about Malawi and just be the only Malawian on that top level?
Again, I don't see myself as an advert. I see myself as an artist, right? I talk about the human struggle, and my number one priority is to make people laugh till they cry. Now, if there is a Malawian who rises, who is brilliant and is making people laugh till they cry, I will hire them, right? Like I have brought, when I'm doing these shows in Malawi, a Kenyan, Indian, British comedian because he makes me laugh to that point, right? So that's who I'm going to work with. You know, like when I was in South Africa, I worked with Trevor Noah. Not because Trevor Noah wanted to help me, because he found me funny and said, this guy will work with me.
Yeah, but for him to find you funny is because there was an opportunity, there was a link that linked you to him. So my question is, do you think that probably people would say because we don't get to get exposure, we might have the content, but I don't have the opportunity to get exposed. Daliso has got an opportunity to expose me. It's up to people now to judge whether what has been exposed is good or not. But
No. What I think people must do is, if you are a local Malawian, you must start making waves. Even if it's in a village, even if it's in just a small show, you start making waves. I will hear the ripples, right? Same way I've heard about a few people, I'll hear the ripples. I knew Anne Kansime long before I met her, just from the ripples. So just start doing it, and then if I hear the ripples and I watch it and I want you to come, I will bring you because I find you funny, not because I want to support.
all right. So maybe how hard has been for you to make this breakthrough?
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I think a lot of us started following you on Britain's Got Talent.
Yeah.
But we don't know the story before Britain's Got Talent.
There's a thing which they say, to become an expert at anything, you need to spend 10,000 hours. I spent 10,000 hours. I was a comedian since 1999, right?
1999.
1999, doing small comedy shows.
Where?
In Canada. I started
All right.
when I was in university.
So you started in Canada,
in
basically.
Canada.
The journey
I
started in
in
Canada.
Canada while I was studying, and the side I would be doing little comedy shows, and then it eventually became my job around 5 years later. And then again, I was just doing writing
When you say
every day.
when you say it became your job, what do you mean? You mean
When I
you
say
made a living out of
make
it?
a living out of it.
All
When
right,
you're paying
no-
your rent from it, it's your job, right? So that it was probably around 2006 that it was now what was paying for my job. I was writing jokes every day, performing every day, traveling up and down. I've performed all around the world, and it was just literally I put in the time. So by the time that I became famous because of Britain's Got Talent,
Yes.
I'd already been a comedian for a long time. I already had hours of jokes, right? And so that's why I was able to capitalize on it, because it's that thing of there's no luck, there's being prepared. So when the opportunity came, I could do it. Because there are lots of people who've done Britain's Got Talent, and then in a year people don't know who they are.
Yes.
Because they don't use the moment. So this is what I'm saying with the local artists, is you become an expert. So if that moment comes, you can really capitalize.
But how do you become an expert when people don't get to know about you? Because you've said here that you're in Malawi performing 2 shows only in Blantyre and Lilongwe, because we don't even have the venues for these comedians to come out and people to see their talent.
What you do is you've got... So like when I started, when I was in university, nobody wanted to put me on a professional show. So I used to go to open mics,
Yes.
right? And I would
Yes.
perform for free.
Yes.
I would put on shows myself for students.
Yes.
You just make it happen. So I'm just saying that whatever there is, if there's music, you're like, oh, there's a place where they play music. Maybe there could be comedy before that. If there's a hotel where they sometimes have guests, maybe you can perform there. It's a hustle. You've got to just really... This is the difficult thing about being an artist in Africa. You've got to be half artist, half businessman.
Yes.
In England, you can just be artist.
Yes.
Here, you've got to create the opportunities. But South Africa is almost like it shows us what can be done. Because if you go to South Africa, mid-90s, there was no comedy. There was just white comedy. There was no black comedy.
Yes.
If you look at it now, it's got a thriving big circuit which has created Daliso, Trevor Noah, all these people. So that could happen in Malawi.
But the creation of Roiso and Trevor Noah, isn't it now what people have started paying attention to South Africa, the same way now people would want to be paying attention to Malawi, because you now become the brand that is presenting that country on that international market, and people are saying, who else is coming from that country?
No, it's what happened was they created an industry in their country, right?
Okay.
And that's what made them good. So when I went there were no comedy clubs. And then the next time I went there were 2 comedy clubs. Then the next time I went there were 4 comedy clubs. And as the industry grew, there became a platform where they became good.
Yeah.
Right? And then they became so good that they were world class.
All right.
But it takes practice. And so the problem is, I don't think you'll have that happen in Malawi until there are lots and lots of shows. But I mean, I've heard it's happening. Where we are now, Amaryllis,
yes,
I believe they're going to be doing monthly shows.
Yeah, on Times TV, we have open mic on Thursdays where comedians would come and upcoming and those were established.
Why aren't I on this show?
You're going to be on that show, by the way. Yes. Okay, talking about creating the industry, do you have plans to create a comedy industry in Malawi, just like record labels where people would sign, musicians?
Yes.
Do you think it's a business that would work? People now appreciating comedy?
I don't, because what people don't realize is, like, I write for 6 hours a day. I write comedy, I write novels, I perform. I don't have time to do this. Now, if there's a businessman who's watching this and is inspired, they can go crazy, try and create a comedy industry in Malawi, and if they ring me, I'll come perform or support, but I'm not going to create it because it's a 9-to-5 job. A lot of people think, oh, you must be a comedian, you make it up on the spot. No, to be at the level I am, you have to be your full-time job. And being a comedy businessman, that's a full-time job as well. So it's not me, but someone, go for it.
Talking about the novels that you keep reminding me about, have you published any of your novels?
There's one of them which will be coming out at the end of this year. I wrote a novel during the pandemic because there was no performance. Yeah. And that will be coming out.
What's about?
So it's a book for children about a child who's a refugee who discovers she has a magical power. So it's sort of like Harry Potter fiction.
All right. You're watching Times exclusive on Times Television TTV, but you're also listening to the program on Times Radio. My guest in today's edition of the program is Daliso Chaponda, the artist. We like to know him as a comedian, but he is the artist, and the program is coming to you from Amaryllis Hotel, floor number 4. And the program is brought to you courtesy of Rainbow Paints.
Wow, I think K-Pitch looks amazing on that wall.
The electric blue cuts it for me.
Come on, look at the tango, candy pink, burnt orange, okay, sweet lime.
Do you like what you see? You can dream it and live it. Download your Rainbow app today and begin the magic of transforming your home into a fabulous space. Rainbow Paints. Peace of mind. Part of the deal.
Welcome back. You're watching Times exclusive on Times Television TTV. You're also listening to the program on Times Radio. My guest in today's edition of the program is Daliso Chaponda, the artist. Welcome back, Daliso.
Good to be back.
We're talking about comedy industry in Malawi, and you're saying that you can't create the industry because you're busy doing what you're...
Also, I forgot to mention, I also don't live here. Right?
Yeah, you don't have to live here. You can create...
If I ever moved back here, right?
Would you ever move back? It's a question that I also wanted to ask.
No. So
do you plan to come back?
It's very based on opportunities. So I'm trying to make a plan to have a show on DSTV.
Okay.
Right? And if I can film it in Malawi, not in South Africa, then I would move back. But I wouldn't move back with no work. I'd move if there's a work opportunity that works out of here.
But when you get to that level, you're able to create your own opportunities. Isn't that correct?
I think that's almost naive in that you can't just literally I can't just go to Mnet or BBC and say this is going to happen. Like even my BBC show, I had to pitch it, and I had to write it, and I had to have like many meetings to make it happen. So I'm always working on projects, but some of them they say no, even at my level, at every level. Even at Chris Rock's level, they still get told no. So you just keep doing it. So at some time, I may do like a DSTV show, but maybe not. It depends who else is pitching at that time.
Okay, but my thinking is probably you told me that you've made more than enough. So is it not time to invest
No, I invest.
in the industry that you're passionate about?
I invest, but the thing is this, is that when I say I've made enough, it's that I live well. I'm not saying that I'm a multi-millionaire with Bentleys and stuff like that. If I stop working, right, during the pandemic when I wasn't able to work for 2 years, the savings went from big to nothing,
Took a knock effect
right?
on it.
So I have to keep working to maintain my lifestyle. I've not made so much. I'm not Sutter. I don't have extra money to be investing into
You
7
started
different
this.
people.
You've started
right?
this. You've started this.
No, but that's my point, is if I get to that point that I have excess, right, then there's a different proposition. But right now, I am living to maintain my level, right? And I've got plans to go to the next level, but we'll see what happens.
Jokes. When you make a joke, I've asked this question and I want to ask it in a different way. When you make a joke that somebody is not comfortable with,
Yeah.
do they even give you feedback? And what do you do? Do you
Sometimes they do, but that's their problem. Like, art is not meant to be easy, right? Like, you can watch something, it can make you laugh, but you can watch a horror movie, it can make you scared. You can watch a sad movie, it can make you cry. So as long as I get a response from you, I'm doing my job. So sometimes people will come to me after the show and they'll say, that joke, it offended me. I'll
Yeah.
say, good.
you think it's good?
I say, it's good. It got a response out of you. Any response other than I'm bored is good for me, right?
All right.
Because you're engaging.
So your job is to make sure people are entertained and not bored.
Entertained, engaged, right? Entertained is almost misleading because engaged can even be angry.
How do you get people engaged?
Is I talk about things which are important. I talk about things which I'm passionate about, which they're passionate about. Now, some jokes, you are laughing and he's angry. And then another joke, he's laughing and you're angry. As long as you're engaged for the whole time, I'm doing my job. But I'm not saying that you're going to, for my entire show, be laughing the whole way. I may bring up a subject which makes you uncomfortable. I may bring up a subject which makes you question your own behavior, right? Because I talk about stuff, I talk about hypocrisy, and we're all hypocrites.
Finals of Britain's Got Talent, your family is there and the cameras would move from you to your dad. I don't know who else was there, but I think your family...
My dad, my mom, and my brother were there.
And that was the time your dad was entangled in some issues. He got cleared, by the way.
Yes,
I want
he
to put
did.
it on
He
record.
did.
But you also talked about the issues that he was answering then, and people were like...
No, if it's happening, I talk about it. If it's life, I talk about it. There's no reality where there's nothing I don't talk about. Because that's what people are thinking about. That's what people are interested in. And I think it's like, if I am performing in England right now, where the Prime Minister has just been kicked out, of course that's what I talk about. I talk about what's going on. And if my dad was on trial and I didn't mention it, it would mean, am I blind? Am I not seeing what's going on?
Yes.
And also, it was something which was very emotional to me because like Malawians were sending me hate mail, right? And so I talked about the messages I was receiving and, you know, I just talk about whatever's going on.
What do you think about the sending of hate mail? We're living in a time whereby people are on social media.
Yeah.
We hear about people being attacked on social media. What's your take? What do you think?
Personally, I just think it's just a hazard of the job. People are on their little computers. They don't see you face to face, and then they will send some nonsense. But I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's a stranger on the internet. What do I care if he hates me? I'm not saying do it because there's some people who are emotionally affected by it, but I don't care. My friends like me, my family like me. I don't care if, you know, some user in the middle of Blantyre who doesn't like my jokes sends me, hey, I hate your jokes. It's a stranger. But some people, they're affected. I know there's some singers like Ed Sheeran who's left social media because he couldn't deal with it. But for me, bring it.
Wow. Wow.
I know the people who love me, so I don't need the world to love me.
Is that how you want people to respond to such issues?
No, I think as a comedian, you can't be expected to be invited to the party, right? Because as a comedian, I'm actually quoting Joan Rivers, a famous comedian, when I say that, in that as a comedian, you are making fun of everyone. So if I'm making fun of the owner of the party, he's not going to invite me to the party. So as a comedian, you're making fun of the president. Maybe you won't be invited to the next, next big presidential event. If I make fun of a musician, maybe he won't invite me to his next opening. But at the same time, I'm being funny for the people in the room. So I don't expect everyone to like me, because a comedian is a bit of a rogue, right? It's a role where you are often the person insulting people to their face.
You make jokes about racism.
Yes.
All right. I've also seen that Trevor talks about apartheid. That was a big thing in South Africa. Is that what people want to hear now? Do you think racism is funny? Because look, at one of the jokes that you made was saying that if it was some years back,
2
years ago, this would have been an auction
at
where.
the time, I was performing in front of a crowd which was mostly white.
Yeah.
Right, in English.
Yes.
And so this is what I think is, comedy has got a power in that you can talk about uncomfortable issues in a way that people will listen, right? And so if I talk about racism to a room of white people, or colonialism to a room of white people as a lecture, some of them will walk out. They don't want to listen. But because you're making it funny, you get some points across and you make people think about things. I've had people message me and say, I never thought about it this way. During the Black Lives Matter demonstrations,
yes,
I did a joke about how all of these people who get angry when people say Black Lives Matter, and they're like, all lives matter. I'm like, hey, it's like if there are people doing a fundraiser for cancer, and you're like, hey, but what about AIDS? Like, we are focusing on this issue now.
Yeah.
And people would message me. They laugh, but they would say, I didn't think of it that way. It's okay to say Black Lives Matter. These are people who are... And so I think it's not that I'm trying to educate. I'm trying to make people laugh, but you can get some education across, because it's like putting the medicine in sugar.
Is it not reverse psychology, where you're now saying, look, you guys, you did this to us, now I can tell you in your face? Like
it is,
like black people said, I can't be racist. Like, the only people that can be racist are white people.
No. Black people can be racist, and I talk about that. I've got a barber who's very racist. He's cutting my hair and he's telling me we must kill the white people.
Literally?
Yeah, he's literally saying, one day we'll have our revenge. There are people who are racist in all cultures, but I talk about it in terms of, if you talk about it, you make people aware of it and they think about it. It's the same thing like I've talked about, like HIV. Right? When you talk about it, it's less of a monster and people can actually engage with it. When it's a thing which you keep quiet and you don't mention, it actually is more of a scary thing. So I think we've got to talk about things which we don't want to talk about, be it corruption, be it racism, be it rape or misogyny. We've got to talk about these things, because then we actually deal with them. And comedy is a comfortable way to start the conversation.
I've seen a lot of strong men that are weak in the presence of the women that they love, and they control. Women like to control.
I don't know which women like to control.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, when you make a joke, say, about your girlfriend, is it an issue that you will take it home and say, no more jokes about me now? Look, because you're not going to get lucky tonight?
It depends on the girlfriend and depends on the joke, right? I had a girlfriend who literally, we practically broke up because of a joke, because it wasn't about her, it was about her family, and she was like so upset that I brought them up, even though I was not lying, I was telling the truth about what happened.
But you don't get to joke about your private life.
I also think now, when people start dating me, they know who I am. So the person I'm dating now, she likes the jokes because she knows who I am. Even when they're about her, she knows it's my thing. But it was harder for one before who didn't understand.
Let's talk about the shows that you're going to have in Malawi. One in Blantyre and one in Lilongwe. What should people expect from these shows?
It's my big return. So I'm Amaryllis Hotel, where we are in Blantyre, and I'm doing BICC in Lilongwe. And I came earlier this year, but that was almost just testing the waters, seeing how much comedy there was here after the pandemic. Now that I know that, people are coming out, people are ready to come out, this is my big return. It's going to be absolutely crazy. I've spent hours researching, writing jokes, and I get funny every year. So I think like any job, you get more experience. So I think it'll be the funniest show I've done.
I have to judge you whether you're getting funnier every year. How do you know that you're getting funnier every year?
I've seen the reaction of the crowds. You will come and see. You will come and see.
Tell me more about Imran Yusuf.
So Imran Yusuf is a comedian. He's an UK-based comedian. His family is Indian, but he was born in Kenya. So he's like me.
Okay.
Scattered around all over the place. And we first performed together at an interfaith comedy show because he's a Muslim and he was the Muslim representation.
And who are you?
Really impressed. I'm Baha'i.
Okay.
So I was the Baha'i, he was the Muslim, and there was a Jewish person and there was a Christian. And we did the show and it was great and he really impressed me. And we became friends ever since, and I've really been impressed watching his career. So when I was looking for an act who not only is brilliant, but who is... One, they're not super dirty, because I don't think Malawi likes that.
Yeah.
Two, they speak about issues which Malawians appreciate. I was like, he's a very good match. So that's why I chose him.
So super dirty means that, the whole show is F.
Yes.
But there's going to be some dirty.
There'll be some. Like, the thing which I think is the right amount in Malawi is that there's 2 or 3 jokes which are over the line. But you can't have... I don't think necessarily Malawi likes very dirty show. Like what I usually would do, what I do sometimes is I'll have a special show in a small bar for the people who want the dirty, right?
What's so funny about swearing?
We find the forbidden funny. If you ask...
Forbidden funny. You call that forbidden funny?
No, I'm saying humans. We find things that are forbidden funny.
Yes,
if you look at little children,
yes,
the first thing they laugh about is farting and going to the toilet, right? Then people grow up, it becomes talking about sex, talking about religion.
Yes.
It's things which are forbidden are extra funny because you're not allowed to say it. So I think there's a level of that.
All right. Now, as we're getting closer to the end of our show, I want you to make a joke about me.
About you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm putting myself on the spot
so
here.
I've got it here. So right there, you asked me a question about journalists, right, taking bribes, right? Immediately discounting yourself from being bribed. Don't you know there was probably... I could have had a lot of money waiting for you, but because you brought it up, you discounted yourself. As much as it's good you ask these questions, you are hitting your own opportunities.
What exactly are you insinuating?
I'm insinuating that if you don't bring up that you are not a fan of bribing, more people will bribe you.
So I would rather tell people that you can bribe me so that they don't get to bribe me.
Exactly.
You see now, you want me to go on the national TV and say, guys, you can bribe me so that you don't get to bribe me. Because if I don't, then I know people are going to try and see whether I can be bribed or not. Come on, man. It's a national television. People are watching across the country and outside the country.
Of course.
All right, so Daliso, as we're coming to the close of the program, you may have a word or two that you want to share. So there's the people that are following us. What would you want to say to them?
I am so happy to be back in Malawi. No matter where I run around, this is home. I'm doing 2 shows, but this is the beginning, right? This week it's Blantyre, next week it's Lilongwe. But in 6 months, I'll be back and I'm going to add Mzuzu. I'm going to add Limbe. I want to do more and more in Malawi, and I hope to see you in the front row. Forgive me for making fun of you.
Thank you very much, Daliso.
It's been a pleasure.
Daliso Chaponda, he is the artist. He has got 2 shows in Malawi. The first one is Amalelis in Blantyre, and the second one is in BICC Lilongwe. And he's been our guest in today's edition of the program, Times Exclusive, the program that is sponsored by Rainbow Paints. Big thank you to David Masea on the camera there, and of course, Lumbani Ambrose. My name is Wanderer Msisia. Until next time, God willing, is goodbye.